Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dan Gnadt, your PS2 guy, and today we're diving into something a little different as far as first-person shooters of the PS2 era go. Darkwatch, Curse of the West. This one comes as a subscriber suggestion, and I have to admit I've never played this game before, so we're going in completely blind together, and I plan on doing more of these blind playthroughs of games that I never played back in the day. I'm kind of excited to try this one out because it seems a bit unique. So, what is Darkwatch? Well, released on August 16th, 2005, Darkwatch is a first person shooter that blends three genres you'd never expect to see together: Wild West, vampire horror, and steampunk. You play as Jericho Cross, an outlaw gunfighter who, in a classic case of wrong place, wrong time, tries to rob what he thinks is a treasure train in 1876, and instead of finding gold, he accidentally releases an ancient vampire lord named Lazarus Malkoth, who bites him as a twisted thank you gift. Now, Jericho is slowly turning into a vampire himself and gets forcibly recruited into the Darkwatch, hence the name, a secret organization that's been fighting supernatural evil since the dawn of civilization. The premise alone sounds like something straight out of a crazy dream, and honestly, I'm pretty excited to give this one a shot. This game comes from Highmoon Studios. They weren't always called Highmoon Studios. Originally, they were Sammy Studios, part of the American division of Sammy Corporation. In March of 2005, right around the time Darkwatch was being finished, the studio CEO John Rowe actually bought the company back from Sammy Corporation in a management buyout and renamed it to Highmoon Studios. So Darkwatch is essentially Highmoon Studios' debut title after becoming independent. The timing is kind of wild because Sammy had just merged with Sega, and Sega basically told them to wrap up Darkwatch, and then they'd shut down the studio. So, talk about pressure to deliver. So, how was it received? Well, from what I could find out, the critical reception was actually pretty solid. It got a Metacritic score of 7.5, which puts it in the generally favorable category. Reviews consistently praise the game's unique atmosphere, artistic direction, that blend of Western horror element. It really seemed to click with critics. GameSpy, they called it a truly remarkable experience and said that while the game didn't break any new ground mechanically, the world it introduces more than made up for that. Game Informer noted that while it might be another middle of the road shooter gameplay wise, the unique premise set it aside from everything else out there. All right, just a few fun facts about the game. First off, Jennifer Hale, the legendary voice actress behind Commander Shepard from Mass Effect, is also the voice actress for Cassidy Sharp in this game. You get some unique things in this game, such as an undead vampire horse named Shadow, a steampunk dune buggy with attached Gatling guns, but apparently that one only shows up in one mission. The game has a bit of a morality system where you can choose to embrace your vampiric nature or fight against it, which affects what powers you unlock. And that sounds unique, and I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out. Uh, the game was clearly rushed to market, according to reviews, and there are signs everywhere that they had to push it out before it was truly finished, which is unfortunate, but maybe that adds to the character of the game. The vampire horse I mentioned, it's only used in one gameplay section, despite being prominently featured in the intro. Perhaps the most tragic part of Darkwatch's story is what happened next. Highmoon Studios actually started working on Darkwatch 2 shortly after the game's release. They even showed a beta build at the Game Developer Conference in 2006 and tried to pitch it to publishers for the PS3 and Xbox 360. But by 2007, the sequel was officially canceled. The studio ended up getting acquired by Vivendi and later Activision, where they shifted focus to licensed games like Transformers and eventually became a support studio for Call of Duty. There was even talk of a Darkwatch film adaptation at one point, but that remains in development hell to this day, and I quite seriously doubt we'll ever see that. So that's where we're diving in today, a unique piece of PS2 history that tried something completely different and by most accounts succeeded in creating a memorable experience, even if it was a bit rough around the edges. The game reportedly takes about 6 to 9 hours to complete, and I'm generally excited to see what this weird Western vampire shooter has to offer. So let's fire up the PS2 and see if Darkwatch lives up to its cult following, or if it's one of those games that's better remembered than actually played. Either way, we're going to find out together. Okay, this suggestion came from Pelion, and I want to thank you for making the suggestion. Uh, please keep them coming. I want to do more of these first time playthroughs in the future, so thank you for the suggestion. Now, before we begin, let's pull up those viewer shout outs that we haven't had in quite a while. So I'm going to have a long list of them. So let's go ahead and play those, and then we'll get right into the game.
You are Jericho Cross, gunslinger, renegade, outlaw. Behind you, a bloody trail of robbery and revenge. Ahead of you, one last train to rob. Tonight, your life will end.
All right, so when doing research for this game, I did notice that the game uses a modified renderware engine, also used in Grand Theft Auto series, but heavily customized for the Western historic aesthetic. What that heavily customized means, I don't know, honestly. Well, so far we got pretty clean looking full motion video here. I like the aesthetics. Okay, nice, dark, gritty looking game. Like so many PlayStation 2 titles, the controls feel a little, I don't know, stiff. I don't know why that is the case with first-person shooters on the PS2. I don't know if it's the controller or the programmers just hadn't come to grips with PlayStation 2 controllers. I don't know, because I'll be honest, you know, I preferred playing first-person shooters on my Xbox just because the controls feel so much more precise. This feels a little, I don't know, just stiff to me. You know, another thing that when I was doing research, when I was doing research for this game, I did see that there were quite a few, big name voice actors for this game. Beyond just Jennifer Hale as Cassidy Sharp, there was also Rose McGowan, Keith, Sarah Baiku as Lazarus. He was also, in Equalizer, Prophet, X-Files, Star Trek Voyager. He did quite a few different things.
Hold it right there. Take it easy, partner. You got no clue what you're into. There's no gold in that vault. Oh, to hell with it. No! Sweet mercy! What have you done? Oh my god. You're bleeding pretty bad. Can you move? Those blood clouds will heal you.
I really do like the looks of this. So far, and I love that rapid fire gun. That is really cool.
You're feasting on blood. You're turning into a vampire.
Yeah, I may have to try this on the Xbox as well, just to see if the controls are more precise on that, because it just feels a bit different. I don't know how to explain that with the PS2. You know, there were some, according to the research I've done, there were some technical differences between the PlayStation 2 and Xbox versions. The Xbox ran at 60 frames per second with, of course, better graphical effects and online multiplayer, but the PS2 version was considered more stable. It included split-screen cooperative play, and a feature that the Xbox version lacked, which I always enjoyed being able to sit down at the couch and play split-screen games, which a lot of the Xbox games had, so I don't know why they dropped it from this one. The PS2 version also had a bonus level and a bonus weapon that is not in the Xbox.
Sharp, but you can call me boss. Watch my back if you want to live. Nice shooting, outlaw. That's not gonna hold Lazarus for long. Let's see if you can ride as good as you shoot. What is it? It's Lazarus's curse, Jericho. There's nothing you could have done. It's not your fault. Jericho.
I wonder if this is going to be one of those games where the protagonist never speaks a word. I understand that from one perspective, but I kind of like to hear the voice of the actual character.
Darkwatch outpost, we can get some help, and we have to warn them that Lazarus is loose. Two from behind.
You know, as I've been playing some of these PlayStation 2 games, I really have been impressed with the graphic fidelity of the last several that I've been playing. And this is another one that looks really good. Maybe I'll have to do a side-by-side between this and the Xbox, because, you know, what I was reading is that the Xbox had better textures and overall looked better than the PlayStation 2 version. But this looks and plays pretty solid.
I cannot kill you. Not yet. You still have a role to play.
Now, the game does have a morality system that affects not just the story outcomes, but fundamentally changes your vampire powers. At least, you know, I don't know how yet, because I haven't had a chance to play through it, but from what I was reading, that evil powers feature things like Blood Frenzy, which affects melee damage, Black Shroud, and the God power, or not God powers, but the good powers include things like silver bullets, which increase weapon damage. I guess also there are different outcomes depending on, you know, how you play out that morality system, whether you choose to be good or evil. And I'm not quite sure yet how that works. I'm assuming there are going to be decisions that you make throughout the game that affect that morality system. I did see that one of the favorite player powers was the Vindicator, so I'm kind of curious to see, you know, what that is and how to access that and what it does.
This won't be pretty.
Another thing I was reading was that the game originally had over 20 boss battles, but many of those were cut due to budget constraints and, you know, just trying to get the game out on time. There are some early footage that shows different story elements that were also cut, originally focusing more on revenge themes rather than the redemptive arc that finally made it into the game. There's also additional vehicles sections that were planned beyond the dune buggy and the horse riding scenes, but unfortunately, as with a lot of games, budget and time constraints cause you to, you know, miss out on some of those elements that could have been. Maybe some of those could have been added to the sequel to the game if that had also come to fruition. There's that kind of stiff controls again. I'm struggling to dial in on the enemies. So. Now, some of these gameplay sections, if they take too long, I'm probably, for the sake of keeping the video shorter, gonna cut them. Just letting you know ahead of time, there may be some cuts to certain gameplays long time, so I may cut some of this out. Now, I was reading, too, that there's a dismemberment system in the game that was pretty advanced for 2005, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that plays out as well. You know, you could literally shoot off enemy limbs and have headless zombies that would stumble around briefly before collapsing. And each weapon has its own unique melee attack with blade attachments specifically designed for the undead combat. I really do like the dark atmosphere in this game so far. This is really cool. Something else that I was reading about with this game is that it has some really good day-night mechanics with some interesting gameplay elements. Basically, that the daytime levels disable your vampire powers, forcing you to rely on gunplay and strategy, and you can't use some of your vampire powers. It basically creates a compelling risk-reward dynamic. Now, again, with the Xbox multiplayer, I guess there was a feature that was unique called Soul Hunter, where players would collect blood clouds in timed waves and then fight each other during collection downtime. The game featured some extensive unlockable concept art and behind-the-scenes content tied to specific performance metrics, like completing levels with certain accuracy percentages or headshot counts. There are also multiple ending variations based on your moral choices throughout the game. Now, this here appears to be one of those sections that I was talking about earlier, where you're going to be making a moral choice, which will then affect the end of the game story and affect your powers, it looks like. Well, this is definitely a unique game. The whole vampire cowboy aesthetic is something I've never seen before, and really I'm kind of enjoying this. I'm a little, disappointed that Highmoon Studios wasn't able to do what they wanted to do with this. From what I was reading, they envisioned Darkwatch as a kind of the first installment of a much larger media franchise. They had plans for sequels set in different historic periods, including ancient Rome, the Crusades, and World War II, if you can believe it. So it would have been interesting to see where they were going to go with this, franchise of theirs. But unfortunately, as with so many games, it got killed off before it really got started. Something else I was reading was that the developers cited the original Halo Combat Evolved as a significant inspiration for Darkwatch's control scheme and gameplay mechanics. Now, considering I've been a little disappointed with the control scheme on this, I mean, it's not bad, but it definitely feels tight when compared to that of Halo. It's interesting that they said that was their inspiration for the control scheme. And I guess, maybe the button layout controls are similar, but definitely they need some work as far as how the implementation of those controls works out, because it does feel tight and not nearly as fluid as that of Halo. And certainly not modern-day shooters.
Jericho, this way! This passage goes under the mountain. Jericho, what is it? It's taken hold. We've got to get you to the Darkwatch outpost.
The cross burns you because you are weak. You have been chosen. In time you will know why. Until then, you suffer. You must feed Jericho. You should have fed on her, Jericho. That's all she's good for.
So something else I was reading when doing my research was that the game's initial concept was a more lighthearted and comedic take on the Old West called Code to the West. However, the development team at Highmoon Studios, then Sammy Studios, decided this didn't fit a first-person shooter, and they pivoted to the more dark gothic horror theme that they went with. And I kind of like that they did that, because this makes it stand out from the other shooters of the time. It's certainly not like any other shooter of the time that I can think of. How about you? If you can think of something that's similar to this, please let me know in the comments. Earlier we were talking about the graphics, and I am really interested in seeing how this looks on the Xbox, because the comments that I've seen in some of the chat discussions and in the magazines were that the PS2 and Xbox versions close, but there were some differences. The PS2 version was described as having a sharper look with better contrast and colors in some instances, but the Xbox maybe a higher polygon count and sharper textures. So I'm gonna have to check this out and really consider doing a side-by-side just to see what is the difference between this and the Xbox version of the game. Well, so far I can see why this game's developed a bit of or has become a bit of a cult classic. Despite not having or achieving massive commercial success, Darkwatch is, among its fans, is remembered as a cult classic of the PS2 era, praised for its unique setting, style, and solid gameplay. The game's often cited as having untapped franchise potential, with many fans and critics lamenting that the sequel was never finished and released. And I can see why. I'm really having some fun with this one. Tell me your thoughts. If you were a fan of the game back in the day, let me know. I would love to hear what you thought of Darkwatch, and were you disappointed about the sequel being canceled? Did you even know that there was a sequel that was being planned? Let me know. I'd love to hear your comments about that. One of the things I'm noticing here is that it appears that we can only carry 2 weapons at a time. I don't know if that was to force players to make strategic choices about the what weapons they pick up. The hard part is, it's kind of a guessing game as to, am I going to need a sniper rifle or am I going to need a shotgun? I guess unless you've played through the level before. But yeah, I guess, it's probably a little bit more realistic than some of these games that let you carry around 20 or 30 guns. Where are you hiding those things? So I can see where, carrying 2 weapons, a third might have been nice, but carrying around 2 weapons is a bit more realistic than, like, say, the old Doom games where you had a somewhere you were hiding all these massive weapons on yourself. Well, I think I'm probably gonna wrap this up for now because we've been playing a lot of got a lot of gameplay going on here. I've got I'm gonna record more, probably several hours of this. If you're at all interested in seeing the full playthrough, just let me know in the comments below, and when I finish the game, I'll upload the full from beginning to end playthrough of the game. But for now, for my purposes here today, to just check this out for the first time, yeah, I think I'm just going to end it on a high note. This has been a lot of fun to play through, and I really do appreciate the suggestion. So if you have any more suggestions for games for me to play, let me know. I really want to know. There's so many games out there. Just start throwing some names at me, and I'll look through the list and see if it's one that I didn't play in the day. Now, I played an awful lot of PS2 games, and I played a lot of the major ones, but I'm kind of enjoying these somewhat obscure games that this one was one I was aware of, but there's a lot out there that I'm sure I wasn't even aware of or didn't see in a magazine. And so, yeah, please throw out some names. I'll look over the list, and we'll start putting together a spreadsheet of games that I never played on the PS2, and I'm going to start playing through them, exploring these great gems that were out there that I wasn't aware of. Anyhow, thanks for watching my channel. Have a great day and stay retro. Dan Gnadt, the PS2 Guy.